On today's installment of Quick Flicks, we're going to talk about how to properly gap your spark plugs. So you may ask, why do I need to be concerned about gapping my spark plugs, even for something like my daily driver stock vehicle? Well, the first reason you want to be concerned about it is the packaging. Spark plugs, when they're shipped, they tend to bounce around a little bit, and that can actually have a negative effect on the ground strap, bringing it closer towards the electrode, essentially narrowing your gap. The second reason is something called the kernel theory. Now what that is a flame is going to grow exponentially. So if you start with a larger flame, it's going to fill up a void like a combustion chamber much more quickly than a smaller flame will. Now you got to remember that your spark plug and your spark has 1/16 of a second when your engine is rotating at 2000 RPM to completely burn that air-fuel mixture. So you want to give it as big of a spark and an advantage as possible to make sure you're getting the most efficiency out of that spark and that air-fuel mixture. So you might be asking yourself, what are the benefits of changing my spark plug gap? Well, if your gap is on the narrow side, you're not going to get a complete burn of the air-fuel mixture. Now, you're going to guarantee that the spark is going to fire every time, but again, you're not going to get that complete burn. Now, if you widen it, you're going to get a larger spark, which will in turn burn more fuel, but you might miss, and if you start missing, you're just going to end up wasting that air-fuel mixture anyways. So you want to make sure that your spark plug gap is appropriately sized for the performance modifications and the specifications of your engine. We have a few tools at summitracing.com that'll help you properly gap your spark plugs. The first one here being a medallion type spark plug gap tool. Now this is just a little circle that has a gauge on the outer side and has a lip that gets thicker, and the gauge tells you how thick the lip is. What you do with this is that you insert the lip in between the electrode and the grounding strap at the thinnest point, and you simply just rotate it until you feel a little bit of tightness and look at the gauge, and that'll tell you how wide your gap is. Now let's say you want to widen the gap a little bit. There's a little hole here with a lip on it, and you attach the grounding strap to the lip and you torque upwards, and that'll increase the width of your gap, and then you continue to measure until you get the appropriate gap that you want. Now you may ask, what happens if I overshoot my intended gap? Well, some people have told me that the best course of action is don't overshoot it, but what you can also do is lightly tap the spark plug on a table, which will close the gap a little bit, and then start the process all over again. The second type of tool we have here is a wire feeler gauge. Now it has wire on the outside that are different sizes, and the sizes are noted on the outside here, and then it has two tools that'll allow you to increase or decrease the gap size. So what you first do is you find the wire size that is most closest to the appropriate gap for your spark plug, and you see if it fits. And it should be just a little snug. Now if you go up a size, it obviously doesn't fit here. So let's say we wanted to gap our spark plug to that size. What we would do is we would use the little teeth and we would torque the ground strap up and away from the electrode. Then we would go through and we would find the appropriate size and make sure it fits. Now let's say you went a little too far. Just the opposite. You go ahead and torque the ground strap back towards the electrode just a little bit. You don't want to over torque these because you don't want to end up snapping your ground strap or distorting it in any way. Now you may be tempted to use something like pliers or a screwdriver to try to adjust the grounding strap on these spark plugs, and that's definitely not something that I recommend, because what you're going to end up doing is hitting the electrode and damaging the entire spark plug, and then you got to start all over again. Just spend a couple bucks and get one of these spark plug gap tools, so that way you can make sure you have consistent uniformity across all the spark plugs in your car. So you might be wondering, what size spark plug gap is best for you and your vehicle? Well, if you have a mostly stock type vehicle, some minor modifications like an exhaust system or cold air intake, you're probably going to want to consult your owner's manual, and that's going to tell you what size gap to put into your spark plugs. Now if you have some radical changes, the best bet is to consult with your engine builder, and they're going to be able to tell you what works best for their engines that they build, or give our technical department a call. Make sure you have all your engine specs, and we'll be able to try to point you in the right direction of things to try out. Check out the description below for links to the spark plug gap tools on summitracing.com. Check out our other videos that we have available, and be sure to hit subscribe below to stay up to date on our latest quick flicks. Now, if you have any other questions, comments, or suggestions about spark plugs, engines, or whatever, be sure to leave us a question or comment in the comments section below. Talk to you later.